Hello, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Frederick J. Amorosa Jr., aka Jazz, and I'd like to welcome you to Too Smooth Productions.
Joyous word, and it can heal us in so many ways. It makes the pain easier to bear, and then it just melts away. So spread the joy of it all, 'cause there's no wrong way to do something right.
Some of my friends, they call me Jazz. And the funny thing about that, I got that from my African-American brothers, because they always used to tell me I'm just a jazzy type of guy. And I used to goof back with them. I used to say, listen, brother, I got more soul than a shoemaker. Put me on that stage and let me do me. Most people talk about when they got into this industry, how old they were. Well, I was 9 years old when I jumped into this. Most people say I sang in the church choir and all that stuff. Never did that. I was a street singer, under the street lamps, hanging out in the park and everything else. 9 years old, I started with my first group. It was a barbershop quartet group. We were called the Forevers. And that happened downtown Jersey City when I lived on 80 Colgate Street. A gentleman of Ernie Caroselli, which was a jazz musician, excellent guitar player. Started playing around with him vocally and everything. And then later on I pulled away from that. And then we got back into it with his son Ernie, his son Michael, and another friend of mine, Larry Capoli, which was another excellent guitar player. We all came, from the same neighborhood, Colgate Street. Later on, number 5 school, which was originally called Mary Benson Park. First Street Park, Railroad Avenue. A lot of people might not remember that street. Well, back in the day, everybody was singing on the corners, especially a cappella. I guess if you were going to make a movie, I was that kid they always used to shh, get out of here, kid. Get out of here, kid. But I'd be listening constantly to how they were singing. And I'd say, I know that part, I know that part. I'd give the kid a break, give him a shot. And I'd sing it. Then all of a sudden they'd come back the next debate. Hey, I know that part, I know that part. Come on, kid. And I'd sing it. Before you know it, they were saying, Freddie, come over here. Do you know this part? Before you know it, I was a fill-in. I was always the youngest guy in the crowd. I'd say I was 6 or 7 years younger than everybody else, but I was music crazy. I was there. I washed it up. I soaked it up like a sponge. I'd sit and listen, sit and listen. I wouldn't let nothing deter me. Later on, I was born in the 50s, but really truly never got a chance to live the 50s. But through my sister Connie, she always used to play the 45. She was a big Elvis freak. But Del Vikings, Dupree's, Hometown Boys. So I've been listening and listening and listening. And one day she says, all right, I think you're old enough, I trust you with my records. Because she didn't want me to scratch anything. But as time went on, I just kept on practicing and practicing and practicing. Then I wound up putting a group together called the Charades. Back then I was in maybe about 3 or 4 groups. Charades, the Empress 4, which was a mixed group. My biggest thing was I always wanted to have a mixed group. Back then people didn't realize that when you had your African American brothers and you had your white blue-eyed soul brothers, the entity was tremendous. We can open up any doors. We were able to go into the black community. The blacks were able to come into the white community. I was always on this drive to make things better among the congregations through music. And I kept on trying to help the youths when it came to that. So, my father influenced me with a lot of jazz. He was into Benny Goodman, Duke Ellington, and me, believe it or not, as young as I was into the Sparrows, down south type of, harmonies. So all that stuff influenced me. When I got into high school, I created 3 funk bands called White Heat. The other one was called Filet of Soul and Hot Ice. And the reason was, many groups at that time, we came up around the same time Kool and the Gang did too. You know, back then everybody had the high school band because everybody took an instrument during music class. Me, I never really picked up an instrument until I was maybe about 10 years old. I started with guitar, but then I loved the sound of a piano. So I said, you know, let me take a couple lessons. Well, my teacher told me right from the door when he put that sheet music in front of me, and he says, read the music. And I just stopped playing. He said, and then say again, read the music. And I stopped playing. He says, this is what I wanted to say. He said, listen, Freddie, I'm going to slow you down. You have such a natural ear. The minute you hear something, you're already into improvising the song. And he says, most guys, I tell them, believe it or not, play by ear. If this is who you are and you can embrace it and you can get what you want out of that song, then play by ear. So from there, I learned piano. I kept on going with guitar, percussions, drums, a little blues harp. Train time, train time, train time. Train time, train time, train time. And I was a crazy dancer. I used to belong to this team. We used to be called the Rubber Leg. We used to do the craziest stuff. Anywhere we go, James Brown. James Brown was my boy, influenced me. Sex Machine, his driving funk and his push just took me to another level. When he was at the Apollo, I gotta say this, and I say it in jest, I think I was the only white guy there. And I was just on the dance floor, spinning, doing splits, and everybody just embraced me. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. And I stood with that. Average White Band, Pleasure, all these driving, the Funkadelics. Funk was just in me. I just couldn't stop it. So then I started to research. I said, do you want to be a musician? You want to be a manager? What do you want to do? So I said, you know, here comes my brainstorm. I decided to start in promotions. Started promotions, I was going after anybody that was unknown, anybody that I think could really sing, and if I can bring them up to that level where they felt comfortable. So Mike from Hudson Mall Tuxedo Shop back then introduced me to a group, Prime. And at that time, Prime had nobody, they had no direction, nothing. So I wound up signing them up. I put my contract together, I gave it to the family. I said, listen, take this contract to your parents. Let them look it over, do whatever they need to do, take it to the lawyers, whatever. Well, parents came back and they said, well, we'd like to talk to you. I said, I know it can't be in my contract. And they basically told me, saying, listen, where do we sign? Because our lawyer, and they said it in a funny gesture, said you either stupid or you love what you do because you gave our kids more out clauses than a bit. Because it wasn't about the money. I had to strive to bring out the best in the youths. Well, I got Prime, we started rehearsing. They were even too young to go to the club. We had to get the ABC cards, the whole 9 yards. Well, we did the UGHA Harmony thing, and they wound up winning the Best of the Year. Through that, they got a contract. They opened up for Rick James, in Phyllis Hyman at Studio 54. Now, that's crazy. Studio 54, singing a cappella. Well, from then, we wind up getting a show, one of the last shows that was done at the Stanley Theater. I think the Manhattans were there, the Stylistics, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. Outrageous show. And Prime was going to open up the show. Now, I don't like to speak ill of anybody because that's not who I am. So when I speak of someone or of something, I already said it to their face. So let me clear this right now. We were doing that show, and Prime loved the Manhattans, as I. I was very close to Blue, God rest his soul, and Sonny, God rest his soul. But when we approached him, I said, you know, Sonny, you guys want to sing Can I? It's not in your repertoire. Do you mind if we sing it? No, I don't want you to sing it. So I stood back about that because I was shocked, first and foremost. I said, why not? He says, I don't need to explain that. You just can't sing it. And now I got mad. We wound up doing a show at St. Joe's, which was another place for Ronnie I. And we went there under Silk and Soul. And it was gentlemen of mine, my brothers of mine that I knew from the mosque. I sang at the temple many a times with groups. And my Muslim brothers, you know, they welcomed me. You know, I don't want to get into religion, but not all Muslims are bad. So I got to say that from the heart, because I grew up with a lot of good Muslim friends. What it is today is a whole nother story. But we sang together, and we were actually in the bathroom just fooling around. And we decided to do For the Love I Gave to You. And people went crazy over it. We stood together with that for a while, turned into the other group. Then from there I said, you know what, I'm gonna get back into the music end of it. That's, you know, that was in the interim of Start and Promotion, the birth of Start and Promotions coming up through that, you know. My slogan was Catch a Rising Star, because if you can't, we will. And I backed away from Start and Promotion, and I basically just went into my own zone. Started writing music. I wanted to get into the whole gospel thing. So I just laid back, used to have my guitar near my bed. And a lot of times I actually wrote numerous songs in my dreams. And I'm sure a lot of you writers know what I'm talking about. Sometimes I'd be near my bed and I got my phone there, or I got my recorder there, and I'm literally trying to fight my way out of a dream because this melody is just kicking me. So, I mean, I wrote songs, and I know a lot of the writers can attest to this. I could be in the bathroom and I got a tone, I can hear a train going by, and I got this and I just start writing and start writing and start writing. So all of a sudden, after all of that, I decided to put an R&B group back together again. And it was originally called Smooth. So friends of mine that I didn't even know, through other friends, were already using the name Smooth, which I already trademarked. But since I wasn't doing anything with it, I left it at the wayside. And here comes my son. Out of nowhere, he says, hey Dad, no problem, you're too smooth. And that was the birth of that name, Too Smooth. So we were at rehearsal, and one of the songs from the original album was called Don't Know. He was maybe about 9, maybe 10 years old, going through this little puppy love thing. And he'd come up and we were in rehearsal, 80 Colgate Street, downtown Jersey City. I said, what's the matter, Joe? He says, I don't know, Dad. I said, well, what do you mean you don't know? He said, this girl, you know, she likes me. I don't know if I like her. And I said, well, talk to me. I don't know, Dad. And I told the guys, take a break. 5 minutes later, I wrote a whole song called Don't Know.
Oh, don't know, don't know. So you're just tired of me.
And it became well embraced on the original album, Too Smooth album, What Love Can Do. The inception of the group actually started in the post office where I was working as Ha-Ha's. Tony Gutierrez came to me, which became a member of Too Smooth. He says, listen, I heard a lot about you, what you could do and everything else. We'd like you to come in and help us out. I said, yeah, I ain't got no problem with it, but I said, you know, Tony, a lot of people have a hard time working with me because they think I'm hard. I'm really not hard. I'm just trying to get the best out of everybody. And I says, if we put this together, people are going to fall at the wayside. You trust me with this? He said, yeah. So we started to build a group. And believe me, they were falling at the wayside. I had another friend of mine, Dave Sorrow. We called him Green Eyes, another excellent singer. This other guy, Bobby, he came in on a fill. And that was the birth of it as Ha-Ha's. But then as people started to drop out and I started to write music for the group, we started to really get involved in it. Putting stuff out there. I moved to Matawan, New Jersey. I put a studio out there. And now here we are trying to birth Too Smooth all over again. Too Smooth originally was an all-white group. And the reason for that was our niche in the industry. You had a lot of good R&B soul review shows out there, and that's where my love was. How do I get in it? Well, take out the time to talk to the promoters. You talk to the promoters. The promoters tell you, all right, what do you got? Well, first and foremost, you gotta have a CD. Your CD is your calling card. Most people, here's my card, okay? I got your card, what do you got? Well, no, what do you have? You have an audio, you have a video, you got something on wax. That's your calling card, so don't let anybody tell you anything different. So, let him hear it. They went crazy over it. Now all of a sudden, he realized that, hey, this is an all-white group coming to an all R&B black venue. This is the ticket. These guys are bringing in the white crowd. So when he seen we were actually just as good singing as we were on stage, because we were sharing the stage with Blue Magic, the Stylistics, Harold Melvin in the Blue Notes, the Temprees, the Unifics. We had to be on our mark. You're talking about white guys singing this kind of music that got to step. We got to step. We got to make sure, you know, we're on the money, man. Well, our hookup is right. You know, we got something. We got our jewelry going on and everything else. If we can't rub shoulders with those guys out there that have already been doing this, we don't belong. So the first show we did, and I give Vander Carter from VO Promotions, which was my student, and we'll get into that. He already knew how I can sing and write and everything. He never seen me perform. So he said, listen, man, I want to bring you on a show. I said, bet. He says, you just ready? No problem. I said, you put us on there and we will make some noise. They had, I think, Ken Spiderweb for the MC that night. So Ken likes to fool around. He always likes doing that stuff. And he said, listen, this group Too Smooth? He said, boy, wait for them to hit the stage. Because he said, it looks like their mamas just took them out shopping and they're hooked up. And so we went on stage and we used to do this little quirk. There have like the curtains. The first curtain will open up while the music is playing. Ain't nobody there. Then the second curtain will open up and the music is still playing. There's nobody there. Now the third curtain opens and there still ain't nobody there. But the music is playing, they hear it, and then all of a sudden we drop the first vocal and the last curtain opens up. And they say, oh, they're white. I didn't want to say that word, but and we tore the house down right there, and here we are coming out stepping, doing our thing. Spins, doing the whole 9 yards. Well, after the show, Ken Spiderweb said, listen, we all know who's up here. Blue Magic, all these guys, you know them. But Too Smooth tore this house down. You will be seeing a lot more of them. And that everything that their name brings, they dress too smooth, they sing too smooth, they dance too smooth, their vocals are too smooth. Everybody sang lead. The versatility was there. So any song that emulated somebody better with their vocals, that man stepped up to the mic and the rest of us did background and danced. And that's how we just kept on going. In addition to that, what usually happens to in the industry, and a prime example is like Prime when I was the manager. I mean, they opened up for Phyllis Hyman and Rick James at Studio 54. They got a taste of it. We even did a private show for Clive Davis from Arista Records in his penthouse. After that show, he told me, "What do you got?" I said, "I got some original material. What do you want to do?" He says, "Prepare it for me." Believe it or not, that group broke up 2 weeks later. The band just said, "Well, we just did it for the show. We wanted to get our name out there, but they really weren't into R&B." So before you know it, I became more of a friend to Prime than a manager. The parents were, "Oh, don't worry, they're over Mr. A's house." And before you know it, they were eating at my house, who was sleeping at my house. But I enjoyed them, they were my boys. But when your management and your friendship collide, then when you go back to being a manager, they don't like it. And even sometimes if they would show up late, like I used to tell everybody, I said, "Listen, this is rehearsal. Practice is at home. If you're not coming here prepared for rehearsal, then you're not doing nothing at home. You gotta live this. Your hunger, you gotta sleep it, think it, eat it. So when you come here, I'm gonna see who has that one." And that's where I gotta give props to Vander Carter, because Vander was an emulation of me. He was a mirror of me. He started writing, he started arranging harmonies. He knew the ninths, the flats, the sharps, the half notes and everything else. He started to hear these things. And me as a coach, I could be singing with 5 guys, doing my part, listening to everybody and knowing somebody went flat, went sharp, pitch change, or they just lost their breath or whatever. So I used to stay on top of all that stuff. And then before you know it, there was times who didn't show up for rehearsal, who didn't do this, who didn't do that. So anytime they did a gig, I used to find them. Now you say, "Wow, find them, what'd you do?" Well, here's the tricky part. I used to find them $50. But guess where that $50 went? It went into escrow right back to them, because I was never about the money, but I was about showing somebody a lesson. So when the guy goes, "And listen, man, we got to get a new hookup." Well, I don't have all the money. No problem. Take it out of the fine envelope. Oh, so now when all the guys are getting fined, and they say, "Hey," they used to goof on each other. "Hey, thanks, Chuck, for buying my new suit. Thanks, Donald, for buying my new suit." You want to get fined? It don't have to come out of that pocket. You stand your ground and you do your thing, then you don't have to worry about it. And that falls into so many groups, no matter how big you are. The minute you think you're big, it's your stepping stone downward. It's just like a boxer. When a boxer loses his hunger to stay on top, he becomes complacent. That's when he loses the love and the hunger for it. Music, life in general. Let's not even talk about music. Life in general. You got people that could be on their deathbed, have more want for life than people that are disregarding everything around them and should be grateful for it. Same thing with being a producer, promoter, an arranger, a writer. And I didn't say it in the beginning, so I'm going to say it right now. I give praise and glory to my Father God and Jesus Christ for everything that He bestowed on me. Because everything I can, will, am, and yet to be is because of Him. Case closed. That's my heart. So when I speak to guys and I say, "Listen, I'll do the writing, I'll do the arranging, I'll do the choreography, I'll handle the website, just show up." Now, they say, "Bet," but believe it or not, you still have a problem. You still have a problem. They don't do the homework, they come back, we're right here again. Life is too short. I spend too much time with people that just don't have the hunger. We were doing a thing. When I tell people, when you get involved in a particular group, what you want to do with that particular is commit to it. Straighten everything out with your wife. Do whatever you got. My wife used to tell me, if I said, "Well, listen, I got to go out of state or whatever. What's your flight? What do I got to pack?" And we had chances to go to Japan all over the world. And you got guys, "Oh, I don't want to take my wife." And another guy said, "Yeah, but I can't go unless I take my wife." "Oh, you kidding me? We're going overseas. You want to take your wife?" I got promoters to tell me, "Listen, Jazz, we'll pay for the wives. We'll do everything. Tell me if you're in." And I used to get conflicts who I don't want to take my wife. My wife wants to go. More groups broke over women. It's unbelievable. And it's only because they either didn't trust the man to begin with, So they were worrying about, oh, he's out of state, man. I can't get the scoop on him. And, well, no matter where I went, I was always loyal and true to my lady. My lady loved me enough to let me do what I need to do. And most people say, well, let me do. Well, hey, when you're a man, you got kids and everything else, and she's got to pick up your loss of not being in that household, that woman's doing a lot for you. Realize that. She's sacrificing too, especially if she's working, coming home, cleaning, doing everything else. Let's get real. So, you know, I try to tell a lot of groups, stay hungry, and if you feel somebody is shortchanging you in the group, then you need to have a sit down. We used to have sit downs all the time. No matter how many sit downs you have, if people ain't going to adhere to it, it's going to be the same thing over and over and over. So redundant, so redundant. It's like Groundhog Day. You know, it's there and boom, here we are again. Oh, we're grown men. You don't have to tell us that. Well, you're grown men, but we're still in the same scenario. So how grown could you be? So that's where I am now.